the biggest thing, so I explained to you how I ended up just being that girl who was always in her room, always just sitting in my room. And every time my kids came in, like, this breaks my heart, but I would shout at them for coming to me. Like, they were disturbing my peace. Like, can you imagine your own kids? Like, I didn't spend time with them. They would just sit down there and just watch TV the entire day. And I would sit in my room and just, when they came to just speak to me just a little bit, to ask me something, I was like, what do you want? Like, I was... Oh man, I was going through the most. Hello everybody and welcome back. And if you're here for the first time, maybe I should kind of introduce myself. Introduced, did I say introduced? I mean introduce myself. My name is Tiselani Ndlovu. I am a mother of 5. I'm raising 4. I've got 3 girls and 1 boy this side of heaven and 1 boy that side of heaven. And today's video is a continuation from yesterday's video, but I guess today is the happy ending of it. We can call it the happy ending. But what I will be sharing today is how I got out of the rut. I don't want to go back to what I said yesterday. I mean, making that video itself was a little bit hard for me, speaking about things like that, and I think it got me in a bit of a in a place that I don't really like, and so I will not be going back and kind of recapping. I know the video didn't do that great, so most people didn't watch it, and it, you know, it didn't even get that much engagement and all, but it was actually a very hard video for me to make. And so I don't know how to give context without taking myself back there, because I don't want to take myself into a hole. But what I'm sharing today is how this book by Shonda Rhimes, Year of Years, she says how to dance it out, stand in the sun, and be your own person. A lot of the, you know, how to dance it out, be your own person, it for me it references so much of Grey's Anatomy, which I love so much. And I think I shared yesterday how Grey's Anatomy was a bit of a saving thing for me, you know. I watched it a lot just to forget, and it's amazing how after spending so much time in a hospital, in the NICU, and where I got so much anxiety from being in a NICU and just watching a lot of mothers lose their kids. The NICU is the worst. I wanted to make a video about it, and then I thought, no, I don't want to take myself into that space. But just to speak a little bit on it, the NICU is one of the worst places ever. You literally will be there and you're watching a mother here lose their child, and then you turn around, it's another mother lose, like every day, and then you sort of sitting there and you're thinking, so I could be next, we could be next, we could be next. So that's like the worst place to ever be in. And all those beeping machines, like, hey, that place gave me so much anxiety, because every time I think I walked in, I had this huge thing that, you know, that would like click, and because I think, oh, I'll find the machines switched off, I'll find the machines switched off and stuff. And so for someone who was so traumatized by the NICU, you know, the NICU would be the neonatal ICU, where they take newborns and babies, I think between 0 and 1, because I remember we had like an 11-month-old as well in the NICU. For someone who was traumatized by that, the fact that I found so much comfort in watching Grey's Anatomy from the morning, like from noon till night, like every day I watched it. It's quite weird. I think it's quite weird, but that's where I think I fell in love with Shonda Rhimes, because I was also watching her other shows, you know. What's the other one? Scandal, and How to Get Away with Murder, you know. So when I saw this book, I thought, no, I have to read it. I have to read it. And by the end of 2017, so yesterday I was speaking about how grief just took away me from me. I think that's what I was trying to say, even if I struggled to articulate it, was that I lost myself within grief, and I just became a shadow of who I used to be. But then by the end of 2017, we kind of like, you know, when the kids went to visit Granny, I love Granny, you know, because you know, that time away for me is like the best, you know, because I need it. As mothers, we need time to breathe. When the kids went with Granny, it was just Basani and Reformo. I think, you know, we got time to sit down and breathe and sort of just look at the year and how it's been and plan for the year ahead. And, you know, it was my first time to sit down and actually think about myself and think about, you know, plans and how to change my life, because I really didn't like the place I was in. And so I remember my husband literally dragged me out of because he was like, no, I'm tired of you sitting in your room. He dragged me out and we started walking. And that was, you know, releasing something in me. It was hard for me because I struggled a lot with, I don't know, guys, if you also struggle with, or you struggled with contraceptives, like the pills. For me, it was the worst. I think if I had carried on, I'd end up with blood clots and all of that. And my doctor did like say no more hormone contraceptives for you. But because of that, I used to feel so much, it was too heavy for me to walk. But you know, my husband was like, no, we're walking and we're not gonna run, we're gonna do anything, we'll just take it slow. And we just keep on walking. And then I decided to start reading the book, you know. He got it for me, he got me a digital book. And I decided, and I read, like I literally flew through it because I loved it so much. I feel like she speaks like the way I think. I think Shonda Rhimes is so brilliant. This is not a review of this book, so I'm not going to tell you what's in this book or everything. I wanted to share how this book helped me. The biggest thing, so I explained to you how I ended up just being that girl who was always in her room, always just sitting in my room. And every time my kids came in, like, this breaks my heart, but I would shout at them for coming to me, like they were disturbing my peace. Like, can you imagine your own kids? Like, I didn't spend time with them. They would just sit down there and just watch TV the entire day. And I would sit in my room and just, when they came to just speak to me just a little bit, to ask me something, I was like, what do you want? Like, I was, oh man, I was going through the most. I hated that time in but I didn't realize it then, you know. But I chased them away so much, and some little people, they didn't even give up. Just because I was like, they came anyway to knock, and they would knock 100 times a day, even though I was shouting and go away, please just go watch TV, just go watch TV. Like, I don't want to say I was a terrible mom, but I was a mom who was going through the most terrible things, and I didn't know how to act around anyone around me. I was just going through the most. And you know, so just to give you a little bit of context, you know, on this book. So in this book, Shonda Rhimes actually talks about how saying yes to all the things that scared her in life, right? She started saying yes. She speaks about how she's an introvert. Hello. Hello. In my head, Shonda Rhimes and I are twins. Anyway, she speaks about how saying yes to so I think the book is just themed around saying yes to all the things that scared her. So as an introvert and as someone who's in show business, she was scared to go to, she should say no. She'd say no to, if she got an invitation to go to a, I don't know, a Hollywood event, she'd say no, because she just didn't want to be there. It made her feel, it made her feel, you know, as an introvert, you don't want to go where there's a lot of people because it just makes you feel weird. And so one of the things that she says she said yes to was playtime. And she says that she started to saying yes to her kids because, you know, she was always busy. I mean, she writes how many shows? 3 shows, which were on prime time on a Thursday. So, you know, and they would go back to back. So it would be like Grey's Anatomy, and then it would be like How to Get Away with Murder and Scandal. I mean, Thursday was Shonda Land night, you know, it was Shonda Rhimes night on I think ABC. And so she didn't have time to play with her kids, and every time her kids said, you know, come play with us, she didn't. She's like, no, I'm busy, because she was always busy. She's writing, I mean, biggest writer at the time on our television. But she decided to start making time for her kids, and that is what I decided to do. That this is the biggest thing that took me out of the rut that I was in. After reading the book, and in January I decided to go back to school, obviously part-time, and I made a big mistake. I decided to do 2 degrees at the same time. So I was doing something with another university and another university at the same time. Naturally, my brain could handle it, but at that time, there was no way. There was no way. But it was important for me to try. I needed to go through that. That was part of my healing. But I decided that I was going to be present for my kids. I was going to say yes to my kids and my family. Like, if they said let's go to the mall, I would, you know, I wouldn't be like, I don't have clothes, they can't fit, or mommy, let's go play outside. I can't. I just decided to be present for my kids. I decided to say yes to my kids, yes to playtime. So I started being that mom, like present, like fully present. This started in 2018 January. When the kids came back, I started even walking them to school. Their father used to drop them off, but now I started walking them to school because I needed that walk. So I'd walk, drop them off, and then start walking for 12,000 steps every day. And that helped me with losing weight, first of all, because I was very self-conscious. I wasn't looking the way I used to look anymore, and so I needed that walk. So I would walk them to school and fetch them. I would walk and then fetch them. Every single day I did that, and I started making, like, it was a thing for me. I started baking again, and I would make sure there was there was a day, man, when they came back, they knew that there was a surprise waiting for them at home. I made everything from donuts, to chocolate chip cookies, cakes. Like, I always, are you okay, Hlelo? Are you okay? He's playing just in the little cage. But anyway, I made everything under the sun, and this is where I found my healing. I started cooking, experimenting with recipes. I developed my own recipes. I think the recipes that I used to share here on YouTube, when I started out with YouTube, those are the recipes I developed in 2018 because I wanted to feed my family. I wanted my kids to be happy. I wanted my family, I wanted my husband to be happy. I wanted them to come home to a warmer home. Yes, it didn't happen overnight. I worked at it, like every day. I kept on working at it, making sure that there was food all the time, because in the previous year I never cooked. I didn't do anything. Like, I was just sitting there, lying there on the bed and doing nothing. But you know, and I started also involving them. I remember I started baking with the kids sometimes, and you know, we started doing things together. I would play outside with them. We ended up buying this little karaoke thing because music is my thing, and we would sing together. And you know, look, I didn't go to therapy, but that on its own was therapy, just because, you know, one day I also thought to myself that, you know what, Nev, I'm sitting here crying, and yes, and it's okay, I'm crying over the baby that has left, but I've got two you know, that has left to be with the Lord. You know, I'm crying over the baby that has passed away, but there are 2 that are left, and they come to me every day, and I'm busy pushing them away. Like, I need to say yes to actually enjoying my time with them, because they are here. Yes, it's okay to mourn, but I can't sit there and block my kids away. And so that's when I just started to say yes. I'm coming, my boy. to say yes to all. Guys, that's why if you've been watching my videos, you'll see my kids will, like, I love messy play. They will come in with mud and everything else, because, you know, if I can, I sometimes join them. You know what I'm saying? I will play with whatever they're playing with, because I decided to just say yes. And in that, I didn't actually realize how healing that was for me. I mean, I started losing weight. I started losing all the weight. I started losing, and I'm not just talking like weight, physical weight. I started losing even emotional weight, spiritual weight. What's this? Like, in my mind, all the things that were in, like, because I started just being present. Guys, I used to go my kids used to go to a school in Bauchhevel, and as I said, it was close to where I lived. It was Kuro, what is it? Kuro Academy, and the school was like, you know, they had, I think the school knew me by now. I was a class mom, and can you imagine this? I went from this person who didn't really involve themselves in anything, and then I ended up being a class mom because I was there every hockey practice. I was sitting on they have these little chairs. I don't know if they still have it now. We left like a while ago, the school, but they had these chairs, man. Like, I don't know how to explain it, like a grandstand type thing. I don't know. I used to sit there, like I literally used to sit there and just watch Basani do her stuff. I would go to Rufumo's things and watch her do all her music stuff, and I was just present. I decided to be a present mom, and this is after I read this book. I decided that, you know what, I wanna say yes. If my kids say come through to my practice or come through to my game, I went to games, guys. I was there everywhere. I was there, and somehow, just by saying yes to my kids, saying yes to my family, I didn't realize that I was healing. I lost, like, honestly, I started looking better. I was brighter. My smile was brighter. My face was brighter. Inside here was lighter, and I just started healing. And that's why it was a natural progression when we started doing our YouTube channel. And I was baking with my kids. It was not acting. All of it, because, you know, people will put it, yeah, now we are baking. Yeah, let's bake. Let's do things. And they don't actually even like spending time with their kids. And then you start, hello, welcome to the channel. Oh, no. It was natural for me to just stand there with my kids and just do what we're doing. In fact, I would just put the camera. It was not like, okay, we are going to plan this. I would like, okay, guys, let's bake. Put the camera, and we did it. And so saying yes to my kids really took me out of the riots. This video is going to be long because I also wanted to say a couple of things that actually also helped me out. Stop dreaming and start doing. I really started just doing things. I actually started a podcast in 2018. It's just that I realized that I was still too much, like I was hurt. So next year we're going back to the podcast world. I want to do two different podcasts, so it will be different seasons, I guess. I want to do one about motherhood, and then I also want to do one, this t-shirt keeps creeping out, and I want to also do one on other things I will share early next year. But I started doing things. I had my podcast, probably had like 4 episodes. It's still 2 or 3 episodes, I'm not sure, but it's still there. It's still there on Apple on Apple podcasts. If you search it up, if you search for Tiselani, you will find it there. But what I realized was that I was still very much I had not healed. I was not ready to share, because I was sharing about motherhood, yes, but I was sharing also basically what I'm doing now, that I wasn't ready to do it because I felt like I was still bleeding. And I'm like, I'm not going to help anybody heal, but because I was still very much bleeding. I was like, ooh, you could hear it in my voice that I was still very much bleeding, and I didn't want to bleed all over my audience. And so I knew that I needed to step back and heal. But yeah, but other things I did, started doing school. I started doing stuff, you know, stopped dreaming about looking good and started actually walking. 12,000 steps every day. I knew that I'm not good with food and just letting go of food, so I knew that I needed to do something physical for me to lose the weight, and the walking really helped. So Sonja Rhimes didn't say yes to everything. There's something where she says that it's okay to shed negative people from your life, and that's the biggest thing that I did, and that was one of the weights that I had to like take off and like push, because I just couldn't. I'm one of, like, I know people, they say if you say you're kind, then you can't be kind, you know. And if you say, but I'm one of them, I think I can be too nice. And not even pretending to be nice. No, I'm just that person. If you watch Grey's Anatomy, there was a point where they said that Meredith Grey actually, you know, I don't know if you remember, she felt sorry for the murderer and actually went to his execution and all that, even though he was like a master manipulator and stuff. Yeah, I can be that person. Like, I will feel sorry for someone who hurt me. They can hurt me so much, like so much, and then when they go through something, I'll still feel sorry for them. I'm glad I have people sometimes who are like, hey, is it you feeling sorry for who? You know. I'm so glad that God put those people in my life, because I'm that person. But I got to a point where it was like, no ways, I can't anymore. And in fact, just the loss of my son and everything that happened afterwards, how some weird stuff happened, stuff I probably will never ever share. But I went through the most during that season, the most, and that taught me to learn to put myself first, because we need to learn to put ourselves first. I did, and you know, I started just being okay to shut people off. Like, it was like, if you, like, I'm already hurt in my life, you want to come and hurt me, and then I'm supposed to be okay with it? Because some people do subliminal things, you know. They don't come outright and hurt you, but they hurt you, like, and they know they're doing it because like people who do things subliminally, actually, I just feel like they sit down and actually strategize. This is how I'm going to hurt whoever and whoever. And I decided, no, I'm tired. I'm gonna shed everyone out of my life, because, out of all the negative people out of my life, because I can't carry the hurt that I'm carrying, and I'm trying to be there for everyone that shows that they care, and I can't. And so that's one of the biggest things that I learned from Shonda Rhimes, and that really helped me. Look, it took a long time. It was easier to shed some other people and other things. It wasn't just people, just other behaviors that people were maybe inflicting on me just because they thought, you know, she'll take it. It was easier with others. It took from then till now. I'm still learning how to do that. To be myself, to be okay with myself. There were a lot of things that stopped me from now going to auditions for TV, which I haven't gone back to, but putting music, because I was very self-conscious about certain things that I'm not gonna point out. But I just learned to be myself, and just to embrace even my uniqueness and what makes me me. What's going on, my boy? What makes me me, and what makes me special, and I just embrace that, man. I embrace that so much, and I just enjoyed being myself, you know. I enjoyed being myself. I knew that I was an introvert, well, an introvert that finally sort of, like, you know, I put myself in places where I needed to talk to people, and I do. Right now I can walk into a place and actually have a chat with a stranger and have like a proper conversation. I found myself having this beautiful chat with this young lady at the mall back in 2018. I couldn't even believe it. I was like, wow, that's me. I actually had this great chat, you know. But yeah, and another thing that I think I noted, no, actually that's it. Those are all the things that I noted. I started doing things, I started saying yes to all the things that scared me, and somehow I found healing in it. In 2019, I remember just going out on a trip, and I literally tagged along, and that trip was, to me, it was all about me, because I remember there were things that didn't really, I didn't like, but I remembered that this was about me. Because 2019, then Nelity was born, and things literally, I think I went back, I started going back to that person, you know, that sad person, because the birth, actually the pregnancy was scary because of the loss, so it was like a very nerve-wracking pregnancy. The birth was a little scary for me. I've shared all my birth stories, so you kind of know. And then Nelity, after 2 months, just started crying and never stopped. She cried every night, and I felt so overwhelmed. And so in that year of 2019, just before we went into a pandemic, I went to Cape Town, and I was just tagging along, and it was my husband's business trip, so I just tagged along. And I was with Nyeleti, and you know, she started sleeping better because of the ocean, so I got so much rest time, and I started reading the book, a certain book that I read. Oh gosh, man, I don't know. I'll try put it up if I can. And you know, I was refreshed again from there. You know, I was so much refreshed and I was ready to take on the year, and I did. That's when I started my YouTube channel and everything else. But because of all the pressures, I think I found myself in the rut again. And ooh, October was the worst for me because everything blew up. But as we're ending the year again, I am going back. So I bought a new copy. I bought it earlier this year. I just didn't read it, and I knew that I wanted to read it at the end of the year. And right now I'm actually ready to read it as I'm gearing up to start the new year. So I'll be reading it because yeah, I found myself in a bit of a and I didn't see how deep it was until I had just me. And I had no help anymore, and it was just me. Then I realized that I'm back. I'm literally back in that sad space again. And so I just, yeah, I'm gonna be reading this book. Please go get it if you've never read it before. We can read it together over the over the December holidays. I hope that I'll be able to read it over this weekend. It's a long weekend, so my little man will have somebody to be with. And so I'm just praying that I'll be able to get through this book as I prepare to start the new year. Thank you so much for joining me. If you've watched till this long, I hope you've learned something, or that you'll go pick up the book and see what it has for you. I didn't want to spoil it for you, but trust me, it's a good book too. It's very light, it's fun, it's witty. I find Shantaram super witty, and it will help you start the year with like a clear mind and a positive attitude, and ready to just say yes to the right things, and saying even yes to not doing certain things, because you know, you can find yourself being like, you know, saying yes to things that don't serve you, you know. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I will see you tomorrow. Ciao, ciao.